Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Good to Know Shreveport-Bossier. This is a podcast showcasing all the good things, the positive things happening in and around our community. My name is Jeff Blindfor. Over here to my right, that's my co-host Paul Reeser, a local businessman, member of the Committee of 100, and a French fryer extraordinaire. Every podcast we focus on topics and initiatives that are having, as I said, positive impacts on the community. We have new episodes every other Wednesday, and you can find Good to Know wherever you listen to your podcast. As always, the honors to introduce our special guest belong to you, and I know you're excited about today.
I'm super excited, Jeff, as always, but
I just
especially
said
excited.
that. Yeah.
So excited today that I'm going to read it to make sure I get it correct.
I didn't know you could read.
Stick around.
I can't wait.
So our guest today, Bill Joyce. We've been waiting a long time. Our guest today is incredibly talented and creative filmmaker Bill Joyce. So he's won 6 Emmy Awards, 3 Annie Awards, which you'll have to describe in a moment, and 1 Academy Award so far.
Wow.
Academy
I'm impressed,
Award.
man.
Thanks.
We can just stop right there. Take it, no, but I'm going to keep going.
Keep going.
On. So he's contributed to a lot of Pixar movies, Toy Story, A Bug's Life. He has also worked on several Disney films. He is a world-renowned children's author with over 50 titles, 40 of them changed into over 40 languages. He is an artist. His paintings have been on numerous covers of the New Yorker magazine. The list goes on and on.
Well, keep going.
I'm going to keep going.
No, it's not like that.
But I'm excited.
End it, man. End it.
I'm going
Let's
to
go.
end it, but I'm excited because you're not only from Shreveport, but you're still in Shreveport. You office here, you work here, your studio's here. So without further ado, and that's a lot of ado, Jeff, I know. The incredibly talented, and just heck of a nice guy, Bill Joyce.
Well, thanks for the nice guy.
Pleasure. Pleasure to me.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
I've never met an Oscar winner before.
There's not a lot in Louisiana.
Yeah, I bet.
There's like 2.
I thought I'd met one once. I was working in Memphis, and Gary Sinise, you know Gary Sinise? He came to do, he has a band, and he came to do a gig, and I went out to interview him, and I said, man, I've never, and I was thinking Forrest Gump, right? He was so fantastic in that. And I can't believe, I was talking to him about the Oscar, and he's like looking at me, he goes, hey man, I didn't win the Oscar for that. And I went, you're kidding. I really thought he did, because he was fantastic. So
Captain Dan?
Captain Dan, yeah.
Captain Dan.
Yeah, who lost his legs.
Yeah.
That's a lot to give for a part.
By the way, that was pretty cool the way they did that too. Very realistic. Is that something that you would kind of work on with what you do? That kind of effect? Or?
I could now. Back then it was so brand new.
Yeah.
And it blew everybody away.
Yeah, it was really neat.
It was like, how they do that?
Yeah, that's true. That was neat.
Anyway, let's not talk about Gary
let's talk about
anymore.
some of your movies. So you say not a lot in Louisiana, just not a lot anywhere. It is a heck of an honor and a heck of an accomplishment. I watched your speech last night, your acceptance speech on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you recall being there at all? What was that like at the Oscars?
Look, it's, I've loved movies since I was a kid, and I've been movie crazy since I was a kid. In fact, I used to come up to this TV station when I was in high school, and because back then, old movies showed up just occasionally on the local TV stations, on the 3 stations. And so if there was a classic movie that you'd never seen, usually the only way you would see it would be on The Late Show. And so I got to know the programmer for Channel 3, and I go, under the guise that I was writing reviews for the old movies for the Bird High School newspaper, which was true. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, there's some movies that I really want to see that I've never seen. And he goes, well, they sell them to us in these batches, right? So just look through and find what you want. So I was like, all right, Citizen Kane, that'll be great. And he goes, yeah, okay.
Reportedly the finest film ever made.
It is an amazing movie.
Does it hold up? Do you think it holds up?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I'll probably watch it.
It's a little bit of a slow start, but I'm going to watch it again.
Do it, yes, please. I mean, look, I probably watch it twice a year.
Really?
And it rewrote the language of film in a lot of ways.
Nice.
And it's an extraordinary accomplishment. And the first time I saw it, though, in high school, because they showed it on TV, on Channel 3, I was disappointed, right?
Yeah.
But it was over my head in a lot of ways.
You have to be sophisticated.
No, you just have to have some sense. I didn't have any yet.
I have none of that yet. I still don't.
But man,
so you're not going to like it, Jeff.
It was. I learned a lot from that movie, and I still
I'm sure
do.
as a filmmaker.
You using it you carried some of that stuff forward?
Absolutely.
All right.
The way he uses sound, the way he edits, the way he sets up shots, the way he lights. The guy was 23 years old when he made this movie.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. So,
But back to your Oscar.
yeah.
You walked up there in the crowd. I mean, all these movie stars, and they're clapping and cheering, and you look pretty happy. Do you remember it, or do you have blacked out?
No, I did not black out. I did lose the ability to think for a little while. and a friend of mine told me who had won, he goes, your brain's going to start doing some weird stuff when they start announcing your category. And he was right. I lost my hearing. I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
And so I was looking ahead of me because all the nominees in my category were sitting at the end of the row in a row in front of me, right? So since I'd lost the ability to hear, I looked to see if they stood up, and they didn't.
They didn't.
and so I turned to my son, who was sitting to my left, and he was like,
And you couldn't hear
I'm
it.
like, well, I guess that means we won.
Yeah.
So,
For those of you listening, he just made a very excited face for his son was shaking him. And you were the only cool guy with a hat on. You came up, and it was a great speech.
Well,
Talked
thank you.
right away about Louisiana. And
Yeah.
well, we had practiced a speech, and they told us to do that. There's a cool lunch a few days before the awards where all the nominees go to lunch, and they kind of prep you.
okay.
And they're like, don't write a speech down and pull out a piece of paper. Figure out what you're going to say ahead of time. Make it quick, pithy, funny, and like you just made it up on the spot.
Don't say pithy in front of him. Don't just, go ahead.
He's an anti-pithist. And,
Yeah.
and so Brandon and I sat down the night before and came up with our speech. And they said only one of us could talk, and which everybody breaks that rule.
Right.
And we were just
Sure.
gonna throw it back and forth to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked on this, and we felt like we had it down pat. And we get up to the stage, and we could hear right in front of us on the first row was oh God, now I'm drawing a blank. Two of the biggest stars in the world, and they're
and
like,
Jeff
Narrows it down.
oh my God, this is like that night. But I heard them go. I heard him whisper because we'd sat with
Some other big stars.
Anyway, we'd sat with him at lunch, and we had a great time. And he goes,
Kevin Costner.
nope,
Okay.
bigger.
No, sorry. Oh, bigger. Whoa. That is big.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Ocean's 11.
Oh,
Dean Martin.
Frank
I
Sinatra.
go way back. Yeah, Frank
Sinatra.
Sinatra.
oh no, I can see him. Same guy from Oh Brother Where
Oh,
Art
listen
Thou.
to you guys. We've all got the disease.
This is
Oh, yeah,
terrible.
I know
Edit
exactly
all
what
this
you're
out,
talking
Jason.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, never mind. They'll leave it in.
Clooney. George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Clooney.
Well done.
Yes. He turns to Sandra Bullock and in a stage whisper says, those are those animation guys. They are so crazy and so much fun. And so I was like, oh, cool. And we forgot our speech.
So those are the ones you had dinner with the night before?
Yeah.
The lunch earlier. in the
Lunch
week.
earlier.
Okay.
And I had the speech on a piece of paper under my hat. That's the reason I wore the hat.
Oh, look at trade secrets.
The
Nice.
thing is, we got so flustered by that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I remembered the first line, and I said it. And then Brandon just repeated what I had said. And I
Yeah.
went, okay, he's lost. And then we just started talking. And I really didn't know what we had said until late that evening when we got to see it play back. And I was like, I think we did okay. People clapped and stuff.
Yeah.
And then people were coming up to us afterwards saying, y'all were great. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
They just loved your enthusiasm. You
Yeah.
were so happy and
We
and
were
gracious.
so happy.
Well done.
Remind us again the name of the movie that you won for.
It's the longest title to ever win a short film Oscar. All right, it's called The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore.
Ah, very cool. Very
And
cool.
then we made it into a book and into an app, and it was the #1 best-selling book and the #1 best-selling app, and it was
And an Oscar-winning
an
movie.
Oscar-winning show.
And all made here in Shreveport?
All made here in Shreveport.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So the name of your studios is Moonbot Studios?
It was Moonbot,
You
yes.
changed it?
Yeah, we kind of closed Moonbot and
Okay.
before the pandemic, and they changed the incentives, tax incentives for film
Mm-hmm.
because the state was so broke, and it was just we had done it so beautifully for a little while, and and then
I like Moonbot. That's neat. What do you call it now?
it's called HowdyBot.
HowdyBot. Okay. Well, still
There
got
you
the
go.
bots in there.
That's right.
Okay. And tell us all about your studio. I mean, that's pretty cool that it's located
Yeah, right here in Shreveport.
Yeah.
You know, it's we're like guerrilla warfare or something. I don't know. We're so small and nimble, and we're able to jump into new technologies very easily. And that's for the last like 4 years, 5 years. I've really been focusing on new stuff that's changing the industry, and it's changing it so fast. And it's not. You don't have to be there. Like we're using the Epic game engine, which is the most powerful game engine in the world, and to generate our imagery, and to even like figure out how to do our films, and to use a different kind of methodology, because it's very complicated to make an animated short film. There's nothing there when you start.
Right.
There's literally not a thing. So every blade of grass, every doorknob, every nostril you have to like design and then render in these powerful computers. And the game engines have developed these supercomputers that have so much, they can do so much in real time. So during the pandemic, when everything was shut down, it was like, let's try the Epic game engine to do a short film to prove that it's a viable way to make a film. And we contacted Epic, and they're like, we would love for you to do that. They paid for the short film to be made, and just use our technology and then tell everybody about it. So during the pandemic, my small team here in Shreveport worked in tandem with most of the crew, which was in London, and then coordinating with all the people at Epic Games. And we had crew all over the place, in Czechoslovakia and Chicago and Los Angeles.
Wow.
And we just Zoom, several hours a day, but we were able to do things that I never thought were going to be possible in computer animation. We were able to do things faster, more intuitively, much more like live action filmmaking by using that powerful engine. And the short turned out really beautifully, and we won a ton of film festivals. I was hoping we'd get back at the Oscars. We just missed making that. But then in the last few months, last year, AI has been coming into the picture in a big way, and we've been embracing that. And I found some very talented young people in town that are so into AI, and we are blazing amazing trails in AI right now. We're doing things that only a handful of people on the planet are doing, and it's very exciting. And so part of like what's always interesting me about Shreveport is there have always been amazing talents here. Every town has that going on. It's like Johnny Carson came from Nebraska. Like everybody comes from somewhere else, basically. But to be here and be able to tap into that and find these people that are here. I mean, they would have to go somewhere otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited when I'm able to find that kind of talent here, and I almost always do. I mean, it's not just in LA, and it's not just in the big cities. It's everywhere, especially now. The technology is so, I'll call it democratic, that there's no reason why you can't do something amazing any place. So this city has always been very supportive of that and of me trying to do that, and so it makes it easy to be here.
How many folks work in your studios here in Shreveport?
Well, it varies, from time to time. When we were doing the last short film, the Epic Games short film, which had the title almost as long, Mr. Spam Gets a New Hat. We had.
Is it the hat you were wearing? I mean,
it was close. It was a derby.
Okay.
We probably had about 6 people here, and about 45 people in the UK, and then a few sprinkled around the rest of the world. But right now, I really only need like 5 people, and with AI and with the Epic Game Engine, we're able to just do amazing things. Now, when it comes down to getting into production on a feature film, we'll have to ramp up a lot. But these tools make getting there so much faster and so much less expensive than it used to be. That's part of the excitement of it these days.
What's your capacity to ramp up a larger feature here in Shreveport? Because I think that's always been a challenge. People say, well, we got to go out to, like you say, New York or LA. But how do we bring film into Shreveport, and what's our capacity for that right now?
The capacity just depends on if it's live action or animation. When you have live action, you're asking a crew to come in, be here for a little while, make the film, and go away. During the heyday of film production, when we had that going on like crazy after Katrina and for the years after that, we were able to build a steady talent base so there was enough people to be able to crew at least 2 movies at any given time without too many people having to come in. And that was wonderful. And then when the tax incentives had dried up for that span of time, now they're back. We lost all the wind that was in our sails, and Georgia picked up everything that we were getting, different places. And for animation, it's a different kettle of fish in that we were able to bring about 60 people in at Moonbot, and we didn't listen to our own advisors that said, do your big project and scale back down to about 15. And then when it's time to get back into it, scale back up. And we loved our employees too much. Right. We fell in love with the culture that we'd made.
Sure.
And that put us at a disadvantage. We had to just do stuff to try to keep the doors open instead of what we were supposed to be focused on, which was our ideas. And then when the tax incentives went away, it just all burned it up.
Yeah. So you said the tax incentives are back?
They are, and they are tailored in a way to help out. They call them indigenous filmmakers, people who are from here. So they're even better now if you're from here and you live here and you make it here. And so I'm starting a live action film that I want to film in Shreveport to take advantage of those and completely, and just show everybody, see it can work again, and we could start getting this stuff back here.
Right. 2 questions. What's the name of that film?
Okay.
You got a minute?
You like this one?
It's shorter.
Oh no! You've ruined my expectations.
All right, I'll set it up with my thinking behind it. All right.
Okay.
What is it? Okay, I want it. We can't afford to make. I don't want to try to raise $100 million to make a movie in Shreveport. I don't want to raise $100 million for anything. I want that to be somebody else's job. But if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to raise this money. All right.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, I'll do a lower budget film, maybe around $10 million. What are the low budget films that succeed the most? Science fiction and horror. And I love science fiction and horror.
Yes,
and I've been wanting to put on those long pants for a long time. I've been in cartoon land for almost the entirety of my career. So getting to do something that would scare the bejesus out of somebody is something that I've really wanted to do. Not like a splatter film like the Stahl films, but like a film that really just scares you.
Like The Shining or something.
Yeah.
More psychological.
So I decided to make a film set in Shreveport, Louisiana in Halloween night of 1957, the year I was born.
Okay. I
want to recreate the Shreveport of our childhood, anybody that grew up here around that time. And the funny thing is, so much of it is still here. Like, I've done location shooting or scouting all around town, and to make it 1957, there are entire neighborhoods that are just ready to go.
Haven't changed that much.
No, you park an old car in front of it, and you're done.
Yeah, nice.
And so it all takes place in one night, on Halloween night in 1957, and these kids have gone to the movies that day. It's a science fiction movie. I want to set that and rebuild the old Broadmoor movie theater that used to be across from AC Steer.
You remember that? Come on, you probably went to movies there.
I was in Monroe.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay.
And but I see a science fiction movie, and the rest of the night is that science fiction movie in a strange way comes true, starts playing out.
Neat.
And only these kids are immune from what has happened, these invaders that have come and taken over the minds of all the grown-ups and all their friends. and only they can save the day. And I want it to be so scary you can't even breathe. But it's the kids that save the day. So it's not like, it's kind of like something like Stranger Things.
I was just thinking Stranger Things.
But in the 50s and scarier.
Oh, man.
And using Shreveport like crazy.
All right, so what's the name?
The name of it is,
That's a long title.
it's a long setup for a short title.
Okay.
The name of it is Shadows Come.
Shadows Come. All right, I like it.
Thank you.
I like it.
All right, then give me
My
some
next,
money.
my second, you put it on his tab.
Okay.
My next question is, I wanted to get your thoughts on the 50 Cent coming and reviving the Millennium Studios.
Anything that could bring the energy and brings back is great. I don't know that much about 50 Cent, and I hope that it goes great.
Yeah, I do too.
And so I'm glad that deal got put together, and I just hope he succeeds. I wish him all the luck in the world, and that everything goes swimmingly.
Well, this
that
is
would be
exciting.
terrific.
50 Cent. Sorry, I just can't. I
It's
can't fit it.
50. Come on.
50 Cent takes over Millennium Studios, and he starts bringing that in. We have somewhere between $10 and $100 million horror film going on. And,
Yes, there you go.
I don't know
Howdy,
about
bye.
you, but I've never been on budget in anything I've ever made.
Well, that is a problem.
Hopefully, it'll be closer to 10
The
than
budgets
100,
for
but-
French fries are not much, so.
You'd be surprised. But that's exciting.
Well, thank you. We're having a lot of fun. We filmed a sequence for it this past summer, about a 10-minute sequence, and doing night shoots took us 3 days, or 3 nights, and I had my stepkids were the stars.
Oh, nice.
And they did a wonderful job. There's no dialogue that made it easier. It was just a silent, like them being chased by aliens thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so much fun. The city was so cooperative, and we could find every location we needed. And my wife was like, "You haven't slept in 3 days and you're still so excited. What's going on?" I'm like, "This is the funnest thing in the world,
Yes.
is making a movie." And so, yeah.
How long does it take to complete a film like that?
If you're, depending on your budget, it took us 3 days to do 7 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so to keep the money down, you try to keep the shoot as short as you can. And so
Right.
I'm designing this movie so that we don't have that many locations, that we don't have that many speaking parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's at night, which, you won't need as many extras because the street's supposed to be empty. I mean, you think about all these things sometimes when you're doing these, and you work within those limitations. So probably a 3-week shoot
Okay.
would probably be as good as we could hope for.
Wow.
Maybe more than that. I'd probably, but
And then another year of editing on top of that.
you'd be surprised if you
Except for this new gaming engine you have, you can knock it out quick.
the effects can come together really quickly. If you shoot with a lot of clarity, which is what I like to do, I like to prep, within an inch of as much as we can before we get on set and start
Right.
filming, so things will go faster. And it's thrilling to have it all set up and hope it all goes okay. Things always go wrong, but if you're prepared enough, you can tack, right? And
Yeah.
some of my favorite times in making films, animation or live action, is when everything's going wrong and you have to think on your feet and come up with something on the fly. And sometimes that turns out to be the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
I don't know.
So,
Well,
go
I'm
ahead.
wondering. So why did you decide to stay in Shreveport? You could go anywhere. I mean, your talent and your creativity and your winning Oscars, and but you decided to hold it all here in Shreveport. Why?
I tell
I
you,
understand you're quite the proponent, quite the advocate for Shreveport.
well, it's a simple question and it has a complicated answer. And it's like, I don't know, I think I watched too many like Frank Capra movies growing up or something where home was very, prominent in the theme, that home had a very strong pull for all those characters. And I mean, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. It's all about those small towns and staying devoted to them and paying back the debt, right? You were
Yeah,
raised
right.
in this wonderful place, raised by these wonderful people, and leaving it shouldn't be the answer. It should be an option. But I don't know. I always, like, home has very strong emotional pull for me. Mm-hmm. And I went away to school. I went to SMU and lived in Baton Rouge and New Orleans when my wife was going through law school. And then we came back here and she practiced law here. And then she was like, I don't like being a lawyer, and we quit. And I was doing good with books and stuff, and the movie stuff had just started happening for me. So we spent a year, and this isn't when things hit rock bottom in Shreveport, when the bottom fell out of the oil business, mm-hmm. and like so much energy was gone, and it seemed really kind of sad and desperate, and so mm-hmm. many of our friends were moving, and I'm like, all right, let's just look around and see what it's like. You know, things are tough here. So we spent a year, because we could, and we lived in Cincinnati, which is an awesome town.
I lived there. I worked there for 2 years.
Yeah, it's a great city. Mm-hmm. We went to New Orleans. We went to Austin. We went to Washington, D.C. We went to upstate New York. We went to Berkeley. We just bounced around, and we couldn't, nothing ever felt quite like home, right? Mm-hmm. And so we came back.
So you're back.
And then we raised kids here, and they're grown. And
nice.
You know, then I lost my wife, and I lost my daughter. Mm. And the people who, that was a tough time, and the community really, I wouldn't have gotten that kind of support, you know, from mm-hmm. any place else. I'd grown up here, and so people I'd known my whole life were there for us during that time, and there for us after that time, there for me,
right.
You know,
that's
like,
good.
And there is something I gotta say. I used to say it without irony. I used to say, I like knowing old people. And now, now I'm over 60, and I'm like, I like being an old person here, and knowing older people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I take great satisfaction in knowing people for the whole span of their lives and enjoying their company.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. So if anybody's interested in working for you, how do they go about doing that? Is that a thing? Can they just walk in and apply? Or?
Oh man, I hide out.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's no sign for our office. There's a Post-it that just has the number of the room that we're in.
Okay.
And it's, when I need somebody, I let it be known.
Gotcha.
Because when we had Moonbottom, we're at the BRF buildings, you know, there.
Yeah.
And down on Kings Highway, and we were too, what's the word? We were too visible.
Too successful. That's right.
Well,
people wanted to be part of it.
So, I mean, we had to really be careful about people wandering in, and, you know, even to be sweet takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and even just to be cordial.
Yeah.
Takes
I get it.
some time.
Mm-hmm.
And
you need to put Jeff at your front door.
Okay.
He will scare them away. So maybe me and Jeff
You'd
can
never
try
get
out.
in, I can tell you that.
So Jeff and I maybe could try out to be extras, like newscasters in your movie or something.
Oh, we
can
do that
early.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd love
Kill
to,
us off
man. That'd be
early.
awesome.
That would be fun. You know, you look kind of 1950s, so we can get that.
Wow, that's it. Yeah.
And I was making those statements before we came in. You were making fun of me, but regardless, I'm used to it. I mean, man, I want to talk to you forever, but I know you're super busy today. Thanks for coming down to the studio.
You've got me in the chair. I'll let you know.
So really, we got like 3 more minutes here.
Okay, well, you've done so many creative things. I mean, were you just born creative? I mean, like one of my favorite things you did was The Rise of the Guardians.
Thank you.
Because you've completely reimagined all of our childhood heroes, you know. So are you familiar with the Guardians? So you take like...
No.
You take like the Sandman and Santa Claus and Jack Frost.
Okay, all right.
And you picture him this way, but you don't think much about him. Well, he takes him and turns him into the Justice League or Marvel.
Love it. See, I'm a
Marvel
DC guy. I love
Okay.
Green
It's like
Lantern
it's like
is
the
my
Marvel
favorite.
heroes, and they're fighting the
Well, I like
boogeyman.
Green Lantern too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And you're thinking of this fat, jolly old elf, Santa Claus, and he makes him this huge, bowed-up Siberian
Neat.
guy
I like it,
with
yeah.
naughty and nice tattooed on his arms. How do you come up with that?
Look, this was I don't usually come up with these. I mean, just it's like it's like an idea rock gets thrown at my head or something, and and I'm off. So when my kids were little and I was first starting to tell them about the icons of childhood, like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy, and it would hit me like, where did this stuff come from? Because it's like, I don't remember like reading about
the origins.
Yeah, like there wasn't the Congressional Whimsy Act of 1830 that established these guys. And so when my kids started asking me questions about them, I didn't have a lot of answers. And I'm like, this is there should be answers. How do they do their job? Do they know each other? Is what my daughter asked one morning.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, and so I had to wing it. I go, yeah, they know each other. They have to work together. It's a big, what they do is big, And so that began that whole, like, how to make them interesting, how to make them believable, how to make them cool, how to make them magnificent. Because, I mean, in my mind as a kid, they had to be the coolest guys ever. So when I was thinking about Santa, I was thinking that he was kind of like Sean Connery, because the coolest guy when I was a kid growing up was James Bond. Sean Connery is James Bond.
He's still pretty cool.
He is, or was. And as he got when he quit doing Bond movies and he kept doing different movies, he was still just so cool. So I even tried to get him to do the voice, and we talked to him.
Really?
Wow.
Nice.
It was, God, because there's cussing in this story. So, but we presented it to him, right? Now, I was just the lowly writer, and they're like, okay, Sean only comes in twice a year into CAA and the talent agency. And so you are going to be in this other room, and when we get to presenting him the Santa part to him, I'm going to push a button on the phone so you can hear what's happening. But you're going to be in this room because you're not important enough to be in here.
Wow.
And so I hear this beep comes on, and I hear them saying, this young author. I was younger then. He's done this amazing bunch of books. And he thinks that you would be wonderful as Santa Claus. And we think these books are going to do really well. And I hear him go, well, it sounds very interesting, hand it over. And I'm like, yes. So he flips through it and he goes, these are lovely. When would I do this? And they're like, well, we'd like to start recording you right now. And he said, can I cuss on this? Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
We can beep it out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Nah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
He said, it'll my golf game.
So Sean Connery is
they'll have to
as we
beep that one
imagine
out.
that we'll beep it out, but we'll keep it in.
And then the line went dead. So I stood out in the hall when the meeting started breaking up so I could just see him, right?
Yeah.
He comes out and he's got on this awesome suit, and he just radiates movie stardom. Like, sometimes you meet movie stars and they're kind of ordinary. You're kind of surprised at how they would blend.
Right.
Sean Connery radiates stardom. Like, there's not anybody like him.
Very cool.
So he's walking down the hall towards me, and I lock eyes with him. He just kind of looks at me, nods, and he goes, and I went, oh my God. James Bond
before he
just
was on Jeopardy.
James Bond just took you out, man. License to Kill.
One of
All
my
right, we got to
favorite
wrap
movies.
that. I would like this to go on all day.
But you ended up with Alec Baldwin, right? We got to say that.
Yes, we did. And Alec Baldwin, he did a triumphant job.
He did
really good.
You got a final? You want to hit?
It's as long as one of his movie titles.
Well-
I mean, I just can't stop. Thanks, Bill, for coming today.
Thank you very much
really
for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Excited for the work you're doing in Shreveport, and I know we could have a whole nother meeting just about the things that you do to kind of bring awareness to the good things in Shreveport.
Well, we can do that one.
But thanks for your talent and staying
thank
here.
you.
If you mean it, we will do it again.
No, I enjoy
Thank you so
talking
much.
about
This was awesome.
Shreveport. I
This was
really
awesome.
like talking about my home.
We like talking to you about it.
Okay.
So.
Appreciate
All right.
Thanks very
Oscar
much.
winner Bill Joyce has been our guest today. Good to know Shreveport-Bossier. Pick it up wherever you listen to your podcast. Have a good one, everybody.